Hi, Michael.
Hi.
Can you start us off with the injury situation, please?
Nothing fresh in relation to Ryan Shawcross and Stephen Ward still unavailable to us, and we have a doubt over Julian and Goy just with illness. Other than that, everyone good.
How does it feel to be at this stage 5 points clear at the bottom of the table?
I wouldn't say it's comfortable. It's look, we've obviously our objective is to put as much distance between us and the bottom three places as possible. To have that little gap is nice, but I think it was maybe only 2 weeks ago we were 7 points clear, and we had only lost one game. So you're not, as I said on after the game on Saturday, you're not really in control, obviously, of what the teams around us do. As I've said, it's very difficult to predict results in this league as well. So our focus is on ourselves, and having that little gap is nice. But we have to make sure that we just look at what our own points tally is, what our own momentum and runner results is. So tomorrow night gives us another opportunity to do that here at home. Our home form's been good, and it's more about us building on that as opposed to anything else.
You said after the Charlton game that the team are now playing in the style which you want them to play. Just how much of a transformation would you say this squad has gone through over the last couple of months?
Well, I said they were playing more like a team than that I would like to see. It was. I wouldn't say it's far from perfect, but it wasn't perfect by any means, and we know that, and that's obviously we're never going to get perfect. But yeah, look, I think there has been. I mean, what I said to the players was really that we're in this situation. Before Saturday, it was the same players. We hadn't brought any more players into the club that had really affected it. We've only brought 3 new players into the club. Jordan's played, 2 cameo appearances as a substitute, and James Chester started on Saturday, and young Tashan. So, the players who had the difficult part to the first half or the first opening part of the season, they've turned it around, to be honest. They've turned it around themselves. They've turned it around because they understood the gravity of the situation when we come in. And I think it's a combination of just possibly, the structure that we put on the team. I think what we're getting from the players is, I think we're getting our good players playing well, which is important, and that's been a combination of a little bit that's tactically. Some of it is probably down to man management as well, and then with that comes confidence and belief. But most importantly, it's down to the player, and so the application of the player has been of the players rather has been the key factor, I think, and obviously, the progress that the team is making. But as I say, we've made progress. We've not made any more than that at this minute in time.
Is it down to character as well? Because you obviously had the defeat to Derby last week, which was a bit of a drubbing, but you bounced back against Charlton. So is it recovering from those little blips here and there that's going to help you as well?
I think it is. I think it's very important, and I learned quite early in the championship. We won our first 2 games, and we sort of thought this is quite straightforward. This is nice. It'll be fine going forward. And then we lost our next 3, and that's what you have to try to avoid. You have to try to avoid falling into those lulls and runs of form where it becomes difficult to get results. So it is important that if you do have a defeat, that you park it quite quickly. You move on. As we said on the night, it was possibly, you never like being beaten 4-0, especially not live on television as well. It was probably a little bit harsh on us, I felt, but equally the players' response to it is the most important thing, and they responded very well in the week leading up to the Charlton game, and in terms of the performance and the result as well. So I think that's key going forward, and what I'm learning about the Championship all the time is that at times you don't always have that much time to analyse the game after you've played it, and because of that, you have to move on to the next game very quickly and try and be as positive as possible with the players.
Confidence obviously must also be very important as well in keeping the players' momentum going, and if you're able to get a result against a side like Preston, presumably that helps with the confidence even further.
Yeah, it does. We've beaten the teams in the top half of the league already. The likes when we played Sheffield Wednesday, they were 3rd. West Brom were top when we played them. So we go into these games believing we can win. I think, in all honesty, probably most teams in the Championship feel they can get something out of the game. That's the nature of it. Alex done a very good job. The team I saw them live against Charlton a couple of weeks ago before because we were playing on the Monday night, so it was nice to be able to do that. But they themselves have come out of having had a little bad run, possibly just after Christmas, New Year. They've turned that around themselves, and are pushing again for obviously playoffs and promotion.
Preston are unbeaten in their last 5 away games. I'm assuming you know that. So we've had a good run at home. It has all the hallmarks of a close competition. But we've also got 5 games in the next 17 days. Does that mean that you'll have to look at freshening up the squad?
Well, there's an aspect of that. I think that we have to look at where the players are in terms of physically, if they're physically ready to go again. I'm not a great one for changing my team for the sake of it or unnecessarily. I think that players want to play. I think they want to play also when individually, if they're playing well and the team is doing well. So we look at those aspects. In certain positions, there's always a need potentially for freshness, but I don't think in our situation, we have to feel what we believe is the right team for every game, and we have to feel what we believe is the strongest team for every game, as opposed to at times overthinking it. I did contemplate making more changes than I actually did for the Charlton game, and I think that proved to be correct. So the important thing is to continue with that consistency in the team and that momentum in the team. Equally, if we have to make changes, the players who come in obviously have to be ready to fill and do the jobs that the other lads have been doing.
How far away is Ryan Shawcross from playing? You've said what an impact he's having behind the scenes and how he goes to all the games, but how far away is he from fitness in your opinion?
I think it's difficult for me to say exactly. I think we would hope to possibly maybe have him training within a week to 10 days. That would be maybe slightly ambitious on my, but as a manager you're always looking on your glass is half full. But I think in his situation, we're probably a little bit better situation now because we brought James in and we've more options to play at centre back than what we had. So the most important thing is that when we get Ryan back, that he's ready. There's a continuity to him playing. We'd like him back sooner rather than later, obviously, but at this minute in time it's just a little bit difficult to gauge. There's a couple of little setbacks. He's looked like he's very close to being ready to come back into train, and then he's had a couple of little setbacks, so it just has to be managed carefully, obviously, between and that to get him. I think he's probably about 85% there. It's just making sure that 15% is managed in such a way that when he does come back he won't break down again.
And lastly, every Stoke fan would have taken where Stoke are now from the moment you came in, because it was looking a dire situation, and we know that we can go right back down with a couple of defeats. But what would be a successful season in the eyes of yourself?
I think for me a successful season was initially to come in and keep the team in the division. Obviously was the I suppose the job that I was asked to do when the owners made the change. I'd like to see us continue in the vein of form we're in now. I look at where we are in relation, where our form is in the Championship against the other teams. I think we're in the top 4 or 5 teams in the league over certain periods of games, so that's positive. So I would just like to try and maintain that type of position over the remaining 15 games and then see where that takes us. We won't set ourselves any positional targets, but for me to see that I've got a group of players that potentially can gather 9-10 points every 5 games is the type of I suppose model you're looking for to give you a chance to be competitive again next year. So I suppose that's the target we set ourselves, rather than saying where we want to finish, because our priority is, as I say, from where we start at, is to make sure that we avoid the bottom 3 places.
You mentioned Preston's run of form, and they've actually been your best mates of late, because their last 4 victories have been against Luton, Wigan, Charlton and Barnsley. But now they're gunning for you, and you've got a plan to stop them.
Yeah, we always have a plan for the opposition. I'd say that we know the strengths of Preston. The threats, obviously, they brought Scott Sinclair in the window, who seems to fit it in nicely at their team. Backhazen's a good player. Sean Maguire I know well from his time in the League of Ireland as well. And I think one of the strengths of Preston has been they're a well put together team, in the sense of they've taken players maybe who have been released from Premier League clubs. They've taken players from lower level football, like I talked about in the League of Ireland, and they've moulded a really good team out of that. And I think what they do have is they've a real hunger in their group to progress. Those players individually, they see Preston's been a really positive thing in their career. When you have that in a group of players, you have a chance of achieving something, and as Alec has done, obviously, with pushing them towards the playoffs. But equally, like all the teams in the Championship, you know, we're all beatable. I think that's been proven, and we go into the game believing, obviously, that we can take 3 points.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, folks.
Thank you. Cheers.